Hey everybody, this is the Undead Viking, the official Viking pillager of Tasty Minstrel Games, and I'm here to talk to you very briefly. Well, it's me, so not very briefly, but I'm going to attempt to tell you very briefly about the game Chimera Station, which is in Kickstarter right now, right this instant, and that's probably why you're watching this video, well, theoretically. Anyway, Chimera Station is a worker placement game in which you and up to 3 other players are going to be working hard at building a space station by using these cute little genetically spliced and grown workers. Now, when I say genetically spliced and grown workers, you're going to see that these guys have tentacles, and they have claws, there's some brains and stuff. You are actually going to modify your workers using genetic material that you're going to add to them so they can do their jobs either more efficiently or more aggressively or however it is that you want them to roll. So it is a game that, yes, it is worker placement, and yes, it has kind of a tried and true theme of, like, a space station, and that's cool, science fiction and what have you, but it has enough twists and enough turns and enough new material that I really found myself enjoying it a great deal, and enjoying the competitiveness, and enjoying the multiple routes to victory is something that we all really, really enjoy. So let me show you how the game is played, albeit in a fairly brief fashion, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk a little bit more about why I am digging Chimera Station. Alright, cool. Here we have Chimera Station. I have really enjoyed working on this game with my coworkers over at Tasty Minstrel Games, and I'm excited to talk to you about this right here and now. Now, this isn't going to be a really exhaustive rules overview that you may have come to expect from me with these videos, mostly because I believe that it's been covered really well. Man vs. Meeple did a really good job, and so did Richard Ham and Forrest Boyer, and I would suggest that you check out those videos if you want to have a more exhaustive rules explanation, if you will. Now, this particular copy obviously is a prototype. This is a game we have in Kickstarter, so I can't really show you the total end result as far as the components, but the stuff I have plays perfectly well. I do not have the cool 3D printed models that Jeremy had with Jeremy and David had with the Man vs. Meeple video. I have Legos, but Legos work perfect for this because of the fact that, as you probably well know, this is a game not only of worker placement, but of worker construction. So, as you know, this is Chimera Station, and you are going to be building this space station. These are the little hexagons that you're going to be building and placing onto the board. And the cool thing about this game is that you actually are creating more locations that your workers can then go and use. I kind of really dig that. I played other worker placement games where that happens, where you just kind of are able to create more stuff and more options. But this game really brings that and kind of pushes it up to 10 for me, because of the fact that, like, you actually get to see the space station kind of get built out in front of you, and you can actually then like envision it in a weird way. Now, I mean, obviously this is not a thematic game or an Chimera trash game. This is a very, very solid, very wonderfully played and fun Euro, but it does kind of tell a story. You can kind of see the space station being built and seeing how it will branch out. And each time you play it, when you're placing all these tiles down, they're going to go in different locations. And the reason why is because when you're placing these and you're building these locations, you might notice there's these silhouettes in the background. Well, that's the bonus that you're going to be getting for building the module in that location. So, like, here's these little hamburgers that you see, and you might see these over here. They kind of look like, they're supposed to be like, I don't know, Soylent Green burgers to me, but anyway, regardless. Those are extra food, and so when you build a module there, you'll gain that food for building it there. If you go to these places with these coins, you're going to get coins for building them there. This little beaker here, that is like research, and so you'll gain that. So there's all these cool different things going on as far as not only the thing that you're building, but the place that you choose to build. Now, obviously, you can't build over here or over here in the 6 coin spot. You have to actually build out to that location, and that kind of feeds into this whole thing of, as you're playing this game, you really have to watch out for the opportunities that you're giving to other players by the actions that you take. And I'll kind of explain that here in just a little bit. There's a lot of that going on. Like, you'll take an action, but you realize that you're just giving an avenue to another player that they can cash in on and then get a lot of points. All right, so each person is going to get a player board. It's just going to represent their player color and their race that's building this thing. So you have the eco-friendlies, the toughies, the brainiacs, and the weirdos. Depending on the number of players, you're going to have a certain number of workers available to you. So you're always going to have start with 2 workers, but then as far as like workers that you can hire later, or well, technically probably genetically grow later, it depends on the number of players. So you're always going to have 2 more available to you. But if you're playing a 2-player game, you have a full 8. Whereas with like a 4-player game, like you're only going to have a total of 6 available to you at any one time. So and that obviously is because of the fact that when you have you need more workers to kind of use up the spots if you have less players. You also are going to have like a research or a technology track, as I was talking about, as far as those beakers go. And so you just kind of like have this little marker and it goes up. And then as you get to these locations, you get certain bonuses, like your perk cards, extra workers, all the way up to a bunch of points if you get all the way up to the top like there. So, that's, pretty straightforward. And obviously, these are one of those things, too, where, like, when you're ever playing a worker placement game, it's like, what's the one thing you always say you need? You need more workers. And so, like, here's a way you can get more workers. So, as you play the game, you are going to collect different resources. Mostly what you're going to be collecting is you're going to be collecting food, and you're going to be collecting coins, and then to a lesser degree, not so much because they aren't important, but just because of the fact that these are fairly finite in their amount. These are the modifications that you're going to be building onto your workers. And and obviously, like I said, I don't have the 3D printed things, but they come in 4 different colors, and the Legos here, so let me just grab a worker here from the Brainiacs. So here's my worker for the Brainiacs. Please, I actually think that looks kind of nice as far as Legos go. So these, like green here, are leaves, and so when you add those on, you just you'd add leaves to a worker. Now, leaves are important because basically that makes, when it comes time to have to feed your workers, workers that have leaves are self-sufficient. So you don't have to actually feed them. Basically, they grow their own food off their bodies and eat it, which, is kind of gross, but, what are you going to do? Gray are tentacles. Basically, they have better arms that are allowed. So when you have a tentacle mutation, whenever you collect something from a spot, whether it's, like if you go over here to the refinery and you would collect coins, you would get an extra coin for your trouble for collecting in there. Or hydroponics, you'd collect an extra food if you went there. The pink is basically brains, and when you use brains, you get bonus points for going to work in locations, just because of the fact that, like, basically you're working smarter, not tougher. So brains are bonus points. Just keep that in mind. Keep the brains in mind. Anyway, and so red are claws. And when you have claws, if somebody else has a worker in a spot that you want to use, so let's say somebody's over here in hydroponics and you really want to use hydroponics because you need food, you would go ahead and you would put your worker on there because your claws are able to throw the other worker out, and then go over here to the worker lounge, which is kind of like a lot of different worker placement games have locations where basically everybody can go there if they want to, and then you just get some basic rewards. So in this case, you either get 1 coin or 1 food if you go to the worker lounge. That's how that works. Now, these spots over here are, like, obviously going to be used in every single game. The hydroponics and refinery, obviously you can collect resources in those locations. Then you actually get to the genetic things. So here's the claw shop. You get the claws there. Here is the genetics vat in this location, and at the genetics vat you then would get the tentacles. In the academy, that's where you get your brains. And then at the seed repository, that's where you are going to turn in, you get your leaves that you're going to be able to add. Now, that doesn't mean you get to add them to your worker at that point. You actually have to go to the worker's splicing lab here and take that location. Now this is a very important location. Not only does it allow you to add, so you need to have some of these other things to splice. If you don't have anything to splice onto your worker, you can't go to that location. So you can't go there to claim a spot and then, you know, to have one of those locations and then, like, later on in the turn, like, get a genetic mutation that you want to add. You have to have a mutation, and so when you go to that spot, you have to, like, have these claws, and when you go there, you go ahead and put it in on them. But you're not going to leave them there, and I'll explain why here in just a brief moment. So, the worker splicing lab will allow you to put those different parts on. But after everybody has placed all of their workers, the people in the worker splicing lab, starting with A, then B, then C, are then allowed to take their worker out of that location and place it somewhere else, as long as it isn't the worker splicing lab. So you kind of get two actions with it. One, you get an action to, like, build up your worker and turn them into something else, but then you get to actually go out and have them do something, if you will. Alright, so after all those, then you have laboratory. If you go to laboratory, you can detach one of the mutations that you have on one of your workers, and you can increase your research by 1 level. And finally here on the construction, it allows you to build one of these tiles. Now you might notice these tiles have a coin amount that you have there, and so you have to be able to spend the coins to buy the tile. Once you can buy the tile, you're able to place it in the location. So, like, let's say you buy this cargo bay, and then you place it here. You immediately get the bonus for the spot that's underneath for that, and then if your worker was there, you have the option, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but you have the option of going over here and placing them on that location to activate it as well. You don't have to. So, and, you know, most of the time you will, but maybe for whatever reason you want to prevent somebody else from being able to build or whatever, or maybe you just don't want to use that location. You know, it can depend upon a lot of different reasons why you may or may not, but, you know, most of the time you're going to go there. When you've done that, you go ahead and you slide these over like so and place them in the like off to the left, and you're going to open up these spaces. Now, as with a lot of games, usually what people will say, okay, and then take one off the top and, like, refill the spot, right? No, that's not how this works. Actually, you don't get to reset this until somebody actually uses the boiler room over here. So when you go to the boiler room, one, you get, if your particular person has a mutation on it, like let's say you have leaves on this worker, and you go over here, you can notice there's coins. If you have, you know, claws, and so you can go leaves, and then, you know, so you can see that you gain certain bonuses if you go there. So if you go to the boiler room and you have leaves on it, you're going to get 2 food for going to that location. And then let's just go ahead and just pull some of these off. Let's just, you know, slap these down here just so you can kind of see them in different spots or whatever. You have these symbols are opening up, and then you're going to get, because of the fact that you are actually going to the boiler room and you are choosing to replenish this, so you get 4 new tiles like so. So let's just go ahead and slap those in here. So you go ahead and place the new locations in, but you would get the bonus, those bonus resources and points and what have you for using the boiler room. Now, that is one of those things, as I said before, you build something, you open up another spot. Notice all the way down here, this is like a research tech. And over here, you know, that, so you have, like, if all of them are gone, you're giving somebody a heck of a lot of a bonus if they go to the boiler room and use that location. So, you know, it's something that you know, yes, you may need, or you really want, you know, to build, you know, these gardens here, if you will. But, you know, you might not want to do it if it's the last tile, and then the next person's going to be able to go, and they're going to be able to really cash in by using the boiler room spot. Alright, there's a couple other things. You might have noticed that there is these 2 command modules here. This command module allows you to, basically what this does, it lets you reap rewards off of how well everybody else is doing. Plus, it allows you to take the start player token as well. If you, I should mention, just as a clarification, if you are on this spot and somebody pushes you off of it because of they have claws, they don't get the first player token. The first player token can only change hands once during a certain turn, but they can still use the command location for it. Basically, when you use the command spot, you get bonus points for everybody else who happens to have workers out on the space station and they're working. So you're basically taking credit for all their work. You're like sending off an email to your boss and saying, "Hey, check out all this stuff that everybody's doing. Yeah, I got them all there out to work," and you're pumping yourself up. Once again, one of these things where you cash in on everybody else's work by using that spot. The command module B isn't available at the very beginning of the game. It doesn't become available until round 3. But the command module B does the exact same thing. However, it doesn't give you the first player marker when you use it. It should be mentioned that in both round 3 and round 5, you are going to then double and triple the points you get for building locations out on the board. So it's like kind of a bit of a inspiration, or kind of a goose, if you will, to get people to build things out there. Now, also in round 3 and on round 5, you will add 3 more perk cards to the tableau up here from the deck, and so that'll give more options available to people to get those perks and get those cards. Now, just quickly, a couple things. Perks come in one of different ways. They come with basically an exclusive location, like this is where you could put a worker. It's also going to be worth 8 points at the end of the game. This allows you to swap your worker in the station with another player's. Both may trigger placement effects if possible. So you're able to swap a couple of workers and use it, and that's just your own spot. Nobody else can use it. Secondly, you can just get some little passive bonus, like here's the Warlord. It kind of looks like a Viking, if you ask me. But anyway, the Warlord. Whenever you take start player, you also steal 2 coins from each other player. And if at the end of the game you are the start player, you get 9 bonus points. So stuff like that, that just, like, once again, variables, things that are added to the game, that kind of stir things up and give people different options and different routes to victory. The game is just a heck of a lot of fun. It's different every single time that you play. It is enjoyable for the reasons I said. It is, well, one, it's worker placement, and I really enjoy worker placement games. But this is kind of that middle heavy sweet spot that I really, really enjoy as far as with these Euros. I really enjoy the fact that each one of these spots, because the game only lasts 5 rounds, and so you have a very limited number of actions that you have available to you, and so when you have that limited number, it forces you to be very, very careful and very, very efficient with everything that you do. This isn't a big giant yes, you can double and triple the points, and the scores can get a little high, but everybody seems to always kind of jockey right around each other, just because of the fact that everybody's kind of just squeezing as many points as they possibly can out of every single turn, and just everybody just feels like it's going to be that one last turn, or that one last build up and cash in is going to be your route to victory, and it's way satisfying when you pull that off. So there you go. That's Chimera Station. Let me tell you a little bit more about it in my final thoughts. See, I work for them, so I can just throw this around as much as I want, and they can't really be upset. Anyway, so no, okay, this is Chimera Station, and you've probably just sat through my explanation of how the game is played, so I hope that does give you a real good glimpse into how the turns are processed and what have you. I mean, I did, kind of gloss over a few things. At the beginning of the game, each person, you have kind of like a draft order of these start player cards that are your starting resources. And so, like, each person will claim one of these, and they'll start with some basic resources, and then, like, you start with the last person who goes that picks one, and, like, kind of serpentines back to the first player to determine who gets to pick first. You're allowed to use this card once as a free action to flush the entire reactor, basically get rid of all the tiles that you can construct and place those out after the fact. I mean, so like, there's stuff like that that I didn't really touch on during the rules, and like I said, you could definitely go ahead and check out like Richard Ham's walkthrough, or Forrest's walkthrough, or the Man vs. Meeple stuff, and that's going to give you a little bit more in depth. So go ahead and check those out. They did a really, really good job, and we're really happy with how well they like the game. But I like the game, and I know, like I said, you know, can I be objective? Is it subjective? I did you know, a fair amount of like work on this with people that I work with at Taste Municipal Games. You know, Seth Jaffe, our in-house designer, worked with the designer Mark Major and helped develop the game a great deal. And they both worked really, really hard on it. And you really can show. I mean, the way the game looks now as compared to when we first had it. I mean, it's grown dramatically, exponentially, if you will. And it's like, you know, it was a fun game before, but now it's got so much more meat on the bone. It's got so many different options. It's got so much more. I hate the word elegant, but it is. It feels like it's a very elegant design. All the pieces kind of like click together really well, and that isn't just because, you know, they're Legos. It is something where like everything. Nothing feels clunky. Nothing feels like it's just like, you know, ham-fisted in, you know, just because, well, we need something against 4 points, so put it in here. You know, it doesn't feel like that. Everything, yes, it is a Euro, so maybe the theme could be anything. It doesn't have to be building you could be building a western town, or you could be building a salt mine. You know, you don't have to be a space station, but all the different parts make it feel like you're doing this. Like, it makes you feel like you are building a space station, and it makes sense. The different locations within the space station, the medical bays, you know, the hydroponics labs, things like that. They feel like they be a part of that, and so it just kind of helps groom the entire situation, and it helps people have a lot of fun while playing it as well. I mean, if you like worker placement games, and maybe you're getting grown a little stale with it. I mean, you know, definitely there have been other games out there that have had different types of workers for worker placement games, but this is the first one I know of where you actually get to create the workers as per how you want them to be, that then you can then use those workers, and I that alone, I think, if you enjoy the worker placement genre, it deserves a look-see. So there you go. That is Chimera Station. If you have any questions about it, post them here, post them on the Kickstarter page, post them on the Twitter, post them on the Facebook. I'll probably see them. I'll try to respond to them as best as I can. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, this is the official Viking Pillager of Taste Municipal Games, the Undead Viking, saying, you go out and have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright.